Hello, everyone, and welcome back to One Soccer. I'm your host for today, Josh Deming, joined by my colleague, Alex Gonge-Ruzic, and our special guest for today, Olivia Smith. Olivia, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. I appreciate you meeting with us today. And my very first question for you is I'm just curious to get your experience so far at the U20 World Cup, especially given that you've already been to one.
Yeah, it's going well. I think we're all very excited. Getting past the group stage is very important for us. And now going to the round of 16, we have very good game coming up against Spain, which we're very excited for. But it's good to be back in with these girls. I think it's been like almost just over a year, for me at least, that I haven't been with them. And, it's very exciting for us because now these girls are now in university and have experienced some new challenges in that environment. So we're looking very good.
Olivia, pleasure to have you on today. Just kind of curious, because of course 2022 is a bit unique because of the COVID breakup. That the entire team, it's a new cycle. There's not really any carryover. Of course, now you're one of these leaders on the team. You've been to a past World Cup. What's it been like, kind of bringing that experience to some of those around you?
I think it's pretty important just to bring, some learnings from our last World Cup. Again, it's a completely different team, and I think having that experience, I think it was also a very humbling experience for us as a team, and just taking those learnings into this year. And we don't want the same thing to happen as last time, and I think this is one of our strongest groups for U20. So I think us, the staff, our team are just super excited to get into it.
So you guys have been a very fun and flowing attack so far in the group stage. What have you made from your offensive performances throughout the team?
I definitely think they're progressing game by game. I think, again, it's just me finding, the different partnerships. Again, not being in with some of these girls, it's a bit different. And coming in late doesn't help either. So just trying to build those partnerships and training through the games. But I definitely think, we're progressing every game.
Of course, Olivia, you've also been at a senior World Cup, we can't forget. Made your World Cup debut last year down in Australia. How special was that experience, and what did you learn from it as a youngster?
It was super special. Going into that pre-camp itself, not knowing what could happen, just coming in as a training player and kind of proving my worth and making that team, I think, it was everything for me. And bringing in those learnings from a senior World Cup, is very good to come and show those learnings here to a younger group. And I think, not just to have here at a World Cup, but even just to bring those to the girls who are in college, or then to, make their decision if they want to go pro. All those experience help in different scenarios as well.
How special of a moment was it when you found out that you were going to be on that World Cup squad, especially at such a young age? Were you surprised? Do you have a feeling that maybe it was coming?
I think I was super surprised. It was a last-minute call to begin with, just as a training player. I never would have thought, there was a chance to make the team. But I think, I had a good discussion with my parents before going in that, anything's possible, nothing's solidified yet. And going into that room with Bev, I was expecting great job, Liv, good luck with, whatever's to come next. And just to hear that I'd made the roster was just a shock to me. But I was so, privileged and honored to represent my country at that stage at the age that I was.
And of course, this summer, Canada, we're at the Olympics. It's always tough, the Olympics with just the 18-player squads, which is, wild on its own. But of course, you were close. You just end up missing out. What did you kind of learn from that experience? I guess, the kind of contrast of you make that World Cup squad, then missing out. What are some things you learned? And did that maybe bring some fuel for these U20s, thinking, all right, let's show them what I got?
I think in terms of learning, I think it was just more of, I just took the feedback that she gave me. Of course, the fitness was one of the biggest ones, and, kind of just have to deal with that and work on that. And then I think it was kind of a blessing for me to actually have a preseason with my new club at Liverpool. And especially for everything that went on as well, it's not easy. So I think it was very good for me to have that experience to go to club first and, get adjusted there, get to know my coaches, my teammates, and then get this opportunity to be here with these girls.
When you made the move to Sporting, it was always a bit of a risk to leave college and go pro early, but you had 16 goals, 10 assists, and 28 appearances. What was your experience like in Portugal, and what kind of went behind the move when you decided to make that?
I think Portugal was the best thing I could have ever done for my career, and Portugal helped me find, my love for the sport again. When I went to university, it was very tough for me going in with an injury after the previous World Cup. I had an injury to my meniscus. So I was out for about 2 months, and then also just not getting playing time. And throughout that whole season, I only had one goal, not very many minutes to my name, and I felt like it was time to go pro for me and like just to find that love again. And I think Portugal, with the way that they play, the technical piece, just the passion for the sport there was really all I needed to know before I made that move.
So I guess to that point, what was the biggest lesson you learned in Portugal? Of course, you're a pro, you're at a historic club like Sporting, you're going up against players every day. This is their livelihood. What were some of those things you learned?
I think the biggest lesson was, just finding, habits off the field and on the field, and just learning to get adjusted to a new environment. I mean, being in university, I was only in America, which is not too far from home. And now moving all the way across the country, a flight away from home is very different. But for me, I think that experience was kind of, I'm kind of used to it, just being away from home so often, going away to national camps, or, having to move away from home a little bit earlier just to get a new environment because, where I was just wasn't working out for me. So, I mean, with those experiences, it wasn't too much of a shift for me moving from America to Europe. But in terms of the pro life, it is the life. And it's so important for people to get that experience. And again, everyone's path is different. And mine was very unique in a sense. But I think in terms of learning wise, just learning to be yourself in that environment is so important because you don't want to hold back anything. And I think that's where I found my feet a couple months later after I moved, was I finally found my confidence and my ability of creativity, scoring goals, finding pockets to open opportunities for others. And I think, it takes time, but when you get there and you're comfortable. So.
Well, you definitely impressed in Portugal, so much so that you ended up getting a move to Liverpool. I'm curious to see how excited you are to play for such a big club at such a young age. And also, I have to ask, I'm a bit of a numbers guy. You picked number 11. Was there a reason behind that? Was it to do with Salah? Was it just a coincidence? Because another winger on the men's side is a pretty big legend there. So big footsteps to follow.
I mean, number 11, I feel like it's always just kind of been my go-to number. I think it's my lucky number just growing up. I mean, since I was maybe 3 years old, my goal at every team I went to was try to get 11.
Okay.
I tried to get the number 11 at Sporting, but that didn't end up happening. But with this big move to Liverpool, I think I was like, is it possible? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, perfect, done deal, let's go.
I guess, Olivia, of course, we've seen a lot of Canadians in the WSL, and you've even had one at Liverpool, Riley Foster. There might have even been a few others as well. I guess that must have been pretty easy just in terms of giving people, calls, getting some advice. What were some things that you heard about the league and what made you choose England?
I mean, again, with the senior national team, we have a lot of players who have experience there. And, it's cool because Chloe Lacasse going from, Benfica to Arsenal is kind of a big one as well. But, they just kind of say, it's the best league. I mean, you have top-class players all around the league. And, I mean, I think it's just the best place for me to develop my game even further, just to adapt to a different play style than Portugal, which I think is good to have under my belt as well.
So let's rewind a little bit to when you were in League One Ontario as a youngster. I'm just curious to see what that experience was like and how much it helped develop your game today.
League One was definitely, I loved League One. It was super fun for me, getting to go home, play with some of my older teammates that I haven't played with in a while. And it's always nice to reconnect, with other players that I played with through, my younger clubs as well. But I think it's cool as League One is starting to shift into our new Canadian league, which is super exciting for us and just for Canada as a whole, because we have so much talent here in Canada. And I think it's super important that, we filter players in from League One into that system as well.
I'm happy you mentioned the NSL because that was kind of the next question. Because like you mentioned, a lot of Canadians like yourself, a lot of League One players we've seen have had to go either test themselves overseas or try college, which can always be tough. How exciting is it to think that the next generation of players can look at 6 teams and hopefully more to come at home and think, all right, I can play there. I can take my first footsteps in the game and not have to, move everything across the world and experience that journey.
I definitely think it's super exciting to think about. And I know it's just getting started, but I think, obviously we can start off on the right foot and thinking about it a couple years down the line, who knows, maybe I can come home and, finally play at home in front of my family, which I think is super exciting again. And I know it's hard to have to, constantly move around and maybe a flight away from family and things like that, and maybe that doesn't suit everybody. So I think it's good just to have this option here, and I think it's going to be really good in the next coming years as well.
So you made your Canadian debut super young. You broke the record for the youngest debutant. That must have been a whirlwind experience for you. Reflecting on that, I'm curious to see what challenges you had with that pressure, the spotlight on you, and how did you thrive in it?
I definitely think, going in at such a young age, it was fun at first, and then it goes to I didn't get a call in for a while as well. So then it's kind of like, oh, where did she go? So I think even like for me and just with my family, it was kind of hard on us mentally. Just with like, what can I do to get back there? Like, is there something I'm doing wrong? And that's also kind of what helped me make the jump to go pro, because what I was doing in college wasn't enough to begin with, not just for me, but also just to get a look for the national team again. And mentally it's challenging, not getting called back in after maybe like three years or so. And having done that at a young age, I didn't want to be one of those players that you never hear of again, and like, this is something that I love to do. And since it's something that I love to do, I want to get back at the highest level. And I think, again, me making that move to Portugal was the best thing I could have done.
I'm kind of curious because, what's unique on the national team is there's a lot of veteran forwards. Of course, when you came in, there was Christine, but you look at some of them like Janine, who's, Chloe Lacasse, who've been through different paths. Has there been someone who's kind of helped you take you under your wing and kind of, helped you give good advice as you kind of broke through into this professional journey?
I mean, honestly, everyone has been super supportive with everything. I would kind of say a lot of the players have taken me under their wing. I think when I initially went in, Christine Sinclair was definitely one of them that came by my side and kind of just gave me, a couple tips and just be you. And I think moving forward, even as of more recently, like Vanessa Gilles has been, a rock, and she's been amazing. She still, messages me here and there here at the World Cup as well, just wishing us good luck and stuff. But I think, that team is just full of role models. Like, I can look up to each and every one on the team and, not shy away from any of them. So they're very welcoming and open to give like their opinion. And, if I'm not giving enough, those hard conversations are there as well. So it's a great environment to be in.
Final question for you. You scored your first Canadian women's national team goal this year at the Gold Cup. I want you to take us through that moment and what you felt after scoring the goal.
Oh, goodness. I mean, initially, I just stepped on the field and played at the end of the day. And I think as soon as I got that ball, played it off to Aladou, and then it went back to Chloe, I just knew, like, okay, I'm going to make that run in behind. I'm going to get the ball. And I ended up scoring, and then I heard the whistle blow, and it was potentially offside or something was happening. So there's a little hesitation in my celebration. But, I mean, again, a goal's a goal, and, like, that's what I'm there to do as well. But it was just, an unreal moment, especially to have my family there to witness it as well.
We definitely enjoyed watching it from home, but that is all the time we have for today. Olivia, I really appreciate the time, and best of luck in the rest of the tournament.
Thank you.